Hi, welcome to another edition of What the Fuck? Yeah, we'll say that even though that's not what it is. It's 700 and something edition, but it says 60. Yeah, it's because I started over. Anyway, it's the same thing. Had to break it just because I had to make the point. Google's evil. You know, people don't want to hear it though, so it's kind of useless. It's falling on deaf ears, as they say. So yeah, disappointing that people just don't care. But anyway, there's nothing I can do about that. I live in this world where caring seems like the rational thing to do. Can't get fixed if you don't care to fix it. It's got to bother you, or you're not gonna stop it from happening. That kind of thing. So can't make you give a shit. So I won't try to make you. Well, I sort of am trying to do that, but anyway, it just doesn't. I'm failing, so it doesn't matter. That's the real important point. The important point is this: I'm failing to persuade you. But whatever. All right. So yeah. So we have a few videos this week. So if you missed, I did do a couple of extra parts on the Hassenfelder glib crapola, and then today's video, which is comments, and it's a pretty good video, I think, just arguing the value equation, just arguing the simple argument that there's nothing else happening here. It's just about how much you're paying and what you're getting, and what you're getting is not worth anything, and therefore if you're paying anything, you're paying too much. So it's kind of a, well, can't win with this strategy. The game just doesn't produce an outcome that has any value, and therefore any positive value. And it's just about how much you're willing to throw away on a wasted enterprise. And apparently you're willing to throw away a lot as long as you're not personally paying for it. So as long as you're not personally dipped in boiling oil, somehow you think the whole thing is profitable. Yeah. Anyway, so we'll play some of the video. Yeah, that's an idea. Why didn't I think of that? Whoa. Okay, I gotta change the volumes. Sorry, logistics. I mean, it takes work to do this whole thing. You gotta put the video on the website, go to this, blah, 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 blah. A lot of bullshit to have to go through to make a video. Anyway. It's just, this is obviously just trolly crap. I mean, what does this person actually believe? Yeah, so I sort of point out that it'd be nice if we had more information about the assholes making comments. They could be easily enough profiled. How many comments do they make per day? It'd be nice to be able to see what other comments are making on other people's videos. All of that crap should be doable, and that's another reason why Google's evil. Google doesn't even index in the search engine. The search engine doesn't even index all of these comments. So it's a whole part of the internet that just kept from us. That you have to go out and personally go through all of these things to find stuff. You can't search on terms. You can't do anything. It's just plainly evil that all of this is made inaccessible in the modern internet. You could do all of these things 20 years ago. You can't do them now. That means Google's control of the internet has not been a good thing. It's hiding more of the internet than it's showing you. And that's not what the search engines are supposed to do. Their job isn't to hide the internet. But anyway, not the subject of the video. Is it the fact that the coal miner has to go deep into the... Right, so I've made this argument 5 million times. What makes money, I don't have any here, worth anything? It's really the blood in it. The fact that somebody has to, the alarm clock rings, they don't feel very good, they still have to drag themselves to work. And in really bad cases, they go to work and they get killed at work. Or in my father's case, he worked at a chemical plant and had his skin burned off. I mean, fuck. That's what makes money worth something, is that the labor that creates the value that it represents. The value that's created because people are put at risk and are horribly inconvenienced. Now, some people have very nice jobs, you know, judges or something. They just show up at work and go, you suck and you don't, you can't talk to me like that. You know, they're arrogant motherfuckers and they don't do any work. You know, it's all fun. You know, it's fun to insult people all day. You know, but anyway, you know, there are some jobs that are easy and there's jobs that are hard. And some of them are just drenched in blood. And that's what makes money worth something. Is the blood. All right. It's a good. Somebody could say it's a good thing. And I couldn't explain. The only reason why it's a good thing is because it's opposite to the bad thing that would have been. So, yeah, so this whole defining what a good is, and I'm sort of just arguing that the only way you make something, the only thing that's good is like penicillin, is something that fixes a bad. There's no other real thing that's good. There's no free goods. There's no goods that aren't an alternative to some bad state. I mean, without the bad comparison, there is no good. Because there is no disease that the universe has. We're not curing something that's broken. We're not fixing something that's broken. So if we're going to justify our existence, we have to do something that's truly good. And there isn't anything truly good. All we can do is make a big mess or make a little mess and then say, well, we made a little mess, therefore we're good. Well, no, you're better than awful, but you're still not good. I mean, you know, but yes, that's the dilemma. And that's sort of the Bennettarian asymmetry. Is the, you know, Bennettarian asymmetry is sort of that argument that there is no intrinsic good. This doesn't happen, and therefore it's a zero-sum game. All you can do is minimize how bad you're going to get ripped off. You can't prevent the rip-off. Pretty much. Okay, yeah, I already said that, so we'll move ahead. Just say, I'll just rub my hand on a chimpanzee, and just you know, he's calling everything subjective, as if we don't have any empirical knowledge or we don't have any really well-tested knowledge. Then we can't say anything about reality. I can't say that is over there, because over there is somehow suspicious. You know, we can't. Well, it's not really over there. That's just in the simulation. You know, the bullshit people are using to evade any kind of connection to any kind of requirement to be obedient to anything called a truth or a fact. It's just such horseshit. We know lots of stuff. We know that the batteries don't make electricity because little men inside the battery are on exercise bikes, you know, producing the electricity. There's things we can say for certain and for sure about the reality. And we can certainly debunk all the fairy stories and just say they're fairy stories. We don't have to bother disproving something that has no evidence supporting it. That have none. It's a fact. I mean, some are just going to be like a nasty mosquito bite or something. Yeah, so, you know, making the argument that there's a reality here, you know, and some people are just intrinsically shit, okay? And we can see it. It's not unobservable. The low potential that people end up having because of their poor maturation and the fact that nobody gave enough of a shit to say, well, you got to have a higher standard for that. You know, we can't just let any human evolve. You know, even as a meme engine, even as a thinking device, it has to meet a minimum standard, or it's not going to be able to play in the real world. Because the real world's dangerous. There's devices that can run other people over and all kinds of crap like that. And you got to have some fucking standards. And it's like, yeah. You know, I don't know exactly why that got into this comment, because it really, you know, it's almost a political subject. I don't know how I got in the middle of this, but it did. Phenomenon of our experience. You break the brain doesn't work anymore. Yeah, so what's the meaning of life? It's too confusing, it's too complicated. No, it's really simple. You're a machine, a biological machine. Your brain is synthesizing your living experience. And frankly, I start breaking that brain. I start, you know, taking the air out of the tires, wiping out or smashing a hunk of it, and you disappear, frankly. Okay, that's just a fact. I can make you disappear. You know. And yes, when you're dead, that's all that happens. The brain stops making the fake presence that you feel that you're here. Well, the minute I break the brain, you're not here anymore. Fact. And that's all there is. There's just a brain. It either works or it doesn't. bandwagon and I'm wearing the life is good t. Yes, I'm talking about this asshole and his stupid comments, and he's just defending it for the sake of defending it, because he's always worn the life is good t-shirt, the pro-life t-shirt, and he's just a child of the corporation, and all he knows is that we got to defend the corporation, defend the corporation. I mean, he's not defending anything of value. He just grew up as a British soldier, and so he goes wherever they tell him and shoots whoever they tell him to shoot. I mean, it's just bullshit. Okay, not the ones you think they could create. So again, you're the one. This is more. I'm just gonna argue from the position of the fake silver lining. Right. So this is almost the Pyrrho argument, where I'll pretend that we fixed all of the problems, and therefore I'll argue, because all the problems have been fixed, that there isn't any problem because I fixed them. Well, I did in the future, and the future never shows up is the point, right? The future where the problems are fixed never shows up. So it's just a pile of shit to argue for a future that doesn't really exist, and there's no evidence we'll ever get to it, because no one will ever pay for it, because it's not going to be personally profitable to fix the future. And that was sort of last week's video, but that's the problem. There's no personal profit, okay? In you find that the molding on the door frame is kind of wobbly, and but there's only 5 hours left on your timeshare. Should I put a nail in it, or should I just ignore it? And obviously it's easier to ignore it than to put the nail in it, because you're not going to get any value out of it. You never even produced. It's like you didn't even put it in the play, and you're making the argument. I mean, all right, yeah, so whatever. So this guy is just arguing silver lining bullshit. Somehow it all works out. Somehow it's fine. Somehow it's fine. It doesn't matter. I'll just wave my, it's all okay, it works out. So I can just go to the St. Jude and watch all the little kids dying of cancer, and I can just wave my hand and say, well, it's all okay. It's all compensated because there's a child somewhere else. Jive talking, learning how to honk the horn on the car. If there was some hope that you could do some of these things. Yeah, well, okay, so it's the same basic argument that you're not going to fix any of this shit. So that's why you lost abortion, is because you became... Okay, then I got into politics. Some asshole thinks I should be, wasting my time arguing all these stupid little political issues, when obviously the issues have lost all grounding to anything real. So there's no point in getting into the argument, because the argument's between two imbeciles. I mean, something's obviously, white, and the two political sides are arguing for red and blue. And you're just like, well, you're just wasting time, because neither one of you have the right answer, and neither one of you are paying any attention to the actual reality, So it's just kind of ironic for the liberal puke heads who keep thinking poor people should have kids, and as many kids as they want. They shouldn't. There shouldn't be any law against silly poor people having children. And they're whining about not losing abortion rights. You already were worse than the fanatics on the right, in the sense that you've been promoting the degrade. You've been feeding the Idiocracy pig that is now sitting in the living room, shitting on the floor. And you did everything you could to push that pig into the house. So fuck you too. You're just as guilty. But I do make this the more complete argument is that you've asked for your failure. You belligerently walked up to the cops and started saying shit about their wife and how ugly their kids are. You asked to be clubbed in the face, and then you whined about it, and it's just so fucking stupid. I mean, the Democrats over the last 10 years haven't done a single thing that was a smart political move. Not a single thing. And they run these old artifacts, these old putrid pieces of shit. Hillary Clinton and Biden, these tainted, dirty pieces of shit, as alternatives. And they wonder why they're losing. Oh, big surprise, huh? I mean, too silly. All right. So anyway, and then the young ones are, they're even more toxic because they believe in the, you know, money tree. They believe in the, well, we can pay for anything anyway. Nothing costs anything. You don't have to pay for anything. Nobody has to go to work to earn the money, to earn the industry, to earn the capacity to invest in some new project. None of it has to make any sense. I mean, they're so fucking stupid. There's just nothing here. There's nothing to defend. There's no, you can't possibly find a horse in this race that isn't filthy and disease ridden. There's not a single one that you want to even get near, let alone ride. So anyway, it's just it's a race of, between a bunch of viruses, frankly. There's just, it's so dirty. It's so just so foul. All right, so enough of that. Oof. Okay, so we'll do one of the Sabine videos just for the hell of it, since I'm here, and we'll do a little. So this was the related subject of overpopulation and how it's not a problem. He's from dying. Big mistake, it turns out, right? I mean, obviously, it's good for us to be able to, quoting a movie, right? Nature's to be overcome. So we've overcome the blight of nature. So it's probably something about the whole reproductive thing, and it's not, we don't have to be owned by any of that stuff. We can figure out how to use a condom. This is about people making malicious, conscious decisions to, do this disgusting experiment where let's see what happens. Because it's not going to happen to them. It's going to happen to their poor fucking victim, their child. The risk is theirs. So they're imposing risk on somebody else because they like to watch gambling, I guess. And so they're just forcing somebody to go to the gambling hall, and they're forcing the money out of their pocket and throwing it on the roulette wheel and saying, isn't this fun? We're gambling with their welfare. The good stuff out of the ground. The rest is all downhill, and then you run out, and then what do you use? So I was making a resource argument that we're still dependent on, the fossil fuels, and, it's the plan has to understand that that's the world we exist in, and this isn't just about whether we should make more people and crowd them. It's about whether we can afford to do that in the world that exists and give everybody their piece of the pie, so to speak. You can't. They can't have their carbon sandwich. It's not going to work. Crap. Who's policing those articles?
Choices have the biggest impact on our personal share of emissions. Turns out that...
Okay, so look, the easiest question, the point is that most people don't find it urgent. They don't have an urgent necessity to have kids. So, and even when they have the financial capacity, they choose not to because they don't want to degrade the quality of their life to having kids. So there's half the population on Earth that's already figured out that life is more interesting than just making babies and following them around and making sure they don't fall down, do all that shit. That they'd rather do something else than be a babysitter for 20 years of their life. That's the important, glaring truth in all of this conversation. And the people who haven't figured that out are the moron religious kooks that they're dragging into every country to turn it into a moron asylum. The Idiocracy.
The index reached 708.4%. And hey, the curve goes mostly up, so certainly that's a good thing. Boomsters like to quote this index to prove something. Now, this seems a little overly simplistic.
Okay, good. I don't know exactly what that was, that chart, but who cares? Who cares? It doesn't really have much relevance to why anyone would think there's some sort of necessity to create excess population, and that really is excess. We're living in a world right now where most people aren't college educated. So until we educate the people that are here, we can't make this argument that we need all these educated people who will figure out all these things and create all this technology. We're not even doing that right now. So what's the point? The percentages are going down. The grade scores are declining. I mean, it's not like we're producing more people with more potential. We're producing a higher percentage of the people are morons. So yeah, you can test tube us. You can put us in a more synthetic environment, and our demands from the right. So the easy solution is obviously is you either build me a house or you could build me the illusion of living in a house, right? And it's a lot easier to just program an iPod and stick a probe in my head and make me think I have a house, rather than actually building me a house. So yeah, if we want to have 100 zillion people on Earth, well, we could probably do it and stack them all up, like the movies, and just program the reality, not actually build it. They don't need to physically build all the buildings and build all the sinks and all the toilets and all the stuff that go. You don't need to do any of that crap. You don't have to deal with all the implications of feeding the need, because you can feed all the needs in some synthetic way. Fake food, a fake life, and it'll be just as good as the real thing.
Rates have long dropped below the replacement level. For example, the current fertility rate in the USA is 1.8.
And who cares? Doesn't mean anything. We know that it has nothing to do with the fertility rate. It just has to do with the bad choice rate, bad decision rate. All right, and the bad decision rate is in decline for the domestic population, but if you count importation, then it's on the incline, and the higher percentage of those people being imported are of the make reckless baby disposition. So you're going to just keep putting positive pressure on population rather than negative, and it's not good positive because they're plainly stupid. You're increasing the stupid index. So show me that statistic. Show me the smart, statistic. How many people know what continent they live on? That one's going the wrong way.
132 million people. No wonder Xi Jinping is asking Chinese people to have more babies.
Whatever. So this whole idea that yes, China's going to be in some dire need of having making enough people to run its society is another bullshit. That's going to need more people when the peasants can create as many as you want. But anyway, we'll see how that turns out. One massive earthquake in the wrong place. But again, the only pressure there is against population growth is the fact that people choose not to have kids. So the argument is being won. People are choosing not to have kids. They can and they choose not to. They decide not to. They're not being required to. Now, still in the Muslim countries, women don't have too many choices. So there's a lot of forced pregnancy. But where you give people the choice, at least half of them are smart enough to figure out, I'm probably not qualified, I'm probably not equipped, I'm probably not going to enjoy it, I'm probably going to make a mess. So let me not bother doing that. Win.
Users are wrong to think that overpopulation is the problem, but...
Okay, well, whatever. So I mean, who wants this pigeonhole crap? Who wants to be called something, all that kind of crap? So this part of the argument, I think, is kind of useless. I'd still do it in some sense. There are people who are pro-life and people who are not pro-life, okay? So you don't have to be anti-life to be not pro-life. But, I mean, clearly, the question is there any good reason to increase population? And I would argue that there's no good reason unless you have some evidence that the people you're creating are going to be qualified to be productive. And there's no evidence that that's the truth, that the extra population is going to be mostly smart people, well-educated people, when you know that the extra population is more likely to be raised by imbeciles. And they're not going to be very smart. All right. So we also have the part 2 to the video I did in the other video. This is probably a better video, but anyway, it doesn't really matter. We'll just play a couple of clips and call it a day. Use whatever nourishment they have to lay more eggs. They don't. Right. So this is it's more of a more directly an argument more direct to the quality of life and you know, dealing with whether the future deserves us to be a good foundation. You know, that we're blocks in the building. Should we be sturdy blocks? Should we provide a sturdy foundation for the future, or should we make a mess and force the future to restabilize the foundation before it builds anything? You know, that kind of obligation. You could argue that, you know, the past didn't do our present much good in terms of creating institutions that actually work, like the United Nations or some other thing. They were all kind of failures, blah, blah, blah. And it would have been better if they did it right rather than did it sloppy. You could argue, predict. And the future would have the same opinion of us, that we could have done so much that we didn't do. So yeah, there's ones that you can answer and ones you can't answer. Okay, well, that's not a very good point. Foundation. And the foundation is more important than the penthouse. Right. So, you know, it really is important in terms of how much value you can save by having a bad foundation can cost you everything. So, you know, these arguments for why there should be some concern for what the future has to deal with, and the fact that we're creating that future, you know, that we're the foundation for it. It's just a fact. And, you know, there's a pretty simple choice about if something has to be sacrificed, you know, curing a disease is so much more efficient than treating a disease. It's just that simple an argument. And we should be fighting for cures. We shouldn't be obsessed with treatments. Okay? So this is like predicting your own death. You know, yeah, it's pretty solid that I'm going to die. Okay, now let's figure out what the probability of me dying all these different ways are. I don't know where that came in. Yeah, sorry, it's too long ago since I made the video, so I don't remember, but whatever. It's just stupid. Way overvalued. You know, a $2 t-shirt sold for $32. So yes, and more than just the inefficiencies. I don't think I actually got into the whole inefficiency of the systems, the capitalism, the corporations, all of this stuff that we haven't really put it in any kind of balanced system. There's no balance to how many billions of dollars one individual can accrue, how much control the 1% can have over the rest of us. You know, there's no limitations, no functional barriers against the imbalances that can be created, the wobble, how badly the civilization can be wobbled. Those are really important ones that we haven't done anything about. So anyway, so that's it. So yeah, that's probably enough of a video. So I've done my job once again, and we will see. No, we won't see anything. I'll just do my job and die like everybody else, and that's the story. I did my part. I couldn't make anybody else do their part, so yep, failure. That's what it's looking like anyway. It's pretty dismal. But anyway, there's, you know, all I have is the, you know, all in. You got to slide the chips and you go for it. There's no other game to play. So you got to put the money on one of these stupid numbers and hope it wins. Something like that anyway. You have to endeavor to persevere. That's all there is. And such. So, till the next time, this has been a donotgod.com video presentation. And of course, Google is evil and such. Oppose it where you can.